In this lesson, we're going to be looking at another set of file systems, and that's the Macintosh OS file systems, or Mac OS file systems. Now, Mac OS has been using the hierarchical file system since the mid-1980s when they first introduced hard drives. So around 1985, they introduced HFS, which was the hierarchical file system. In 1998, they introduced HFS Plus, and HFS Plus is the file system that they've been using since 1998. Now, there have been enhancements, of course, since 1998. For example, in 2002, they added journaling, and as we've mentioned in other lessons, journaling was added in order to improve robustness and reliability. So if there's a catastrophic failure, like a power outage, for example, and the system goes down, the operating system can check the journal against the live running file system and make sure that all of the data that should be there actually is there. So you can replay the journal and verify that the file system has all of the current data that should actually be on there. Now, what I've got here is a Mac OS system, and I can bring up information on the hard drive. You can see that it's a Mac OS extended hard drive. It's journaled, and in this case, it also happens to be encrypted. So you can see that it's a volume, and we've got the created and modified date, as well as the version number. Now, with the hierarchical file system, and specifically HFS Plus, with HFS Plus, there is a set of attributes that are associated with each file or each directory. So I could actually open up something here, and I could get info on it, and you see all of the data that's associated with it. I've got more information and the extension, and down here I've got sharing and permissions. So in this case, just going to squeeze this down a little bit so we can see everything. You can see I could actually add different permissions for various files that are on this file system. So similar to Linux, you've got permissions that are associated with different files. As a matter of fact, I could open up a terminal. So I'm going to open up the terminal here. Because macOS actually has Unix underpinnings, I could actually show the permissions in a Unix-like fashion here, because I'm in the terminal, and if I just run ls just like I can under any other Unix-like operating system, I get on the left-hand side, I get the permissions just like I did under Linux when we looked at the Linux file system in a different lesson. You can see the owner and the group there as well as the different attributes of the file, like the file size and the creation date and time. And of course, we get the name as well. With HFS Plus, we've actually got all of the directories and files. They get stored in a B tree. And a B tree is just a data structure that makes finding information really quick. So when you're looking for a file, you want to be able to search the index really quickly, and a B tree allows you to do that. So what we end up having is we have a file system that's actually capable of supporting almost a dual mode nature, where you've got the capabilities of the hierarchical file system, so things like resource forks, which are similar to alternate data streams that we've talked about in other lessons. So we've got resource forks that are part of the hierarchical file system, and we've got different attributes that have been part of the way Apple does things, but we've also got this way of supporting the way Unix does things as well. So you've got the user group world model of permissions on files, just like you do in other Unix-like operating systems, and you've got an owner and a group, which again is similar to Unix-like systems. But you've also got these other things, like if I were to get info on this, for example, I would get a preview. And the preview here just happens to be the icon. And I also have pieces of information about, for example, there's a copyright and there's a version number. So there's additional information that gets stored as part of the file system and the way it keeps data for these files. And again, some of this has to do with resource forks and where data gets stored. So the interesting thing here is we've got an application here, and to you and me, this just looks like an application, right? Except what it really is a package. And we can open this up, and it's really a collection of files that live on the hard drive in directories. So what's presented to the user is an application, but what's really underneath it is a collection of files that get stored. So we've got the icon there, for example, and we've got a list of credits and a lot of other information, as well as the executable itself. The executable itself is right here. So the file system and the operating system have to keep track of the way all of this data is stored and be able to present it in a way that's useful to the user. So we've really got kind of a bit of a duality here, where the way Unix does things has been merged with the way Apple does things. And that's really what we end up getting with HFS Plus, the hierarchical file system from Apple.